Resting quietly at the foot of Mount Seminung, the waters of Lake Ranau stretch across the border of Lampung, a massive natural reservoir for the villages along its shore. For the children growing up in these traditional wooden stilt houses, the lake is more than a landmark. It is the central character in the region's oldest history. Inside one of these homes, a grandmother named Inak Dia weaves shimmering threads into a tapis cloth, while her grandson, Radin, waits for a story before he sleeps. Radin looks out toward the dark silhouette of the mountain and asks how a lake of this size could possibly form right at the base of such a massive peak. Inak Dia explains that the landscape we see today was carved out long ago by a creature who chose to protect the only family he ever knew. She takes him back to a time when these rice fields were worked by a farmer named Simpang and his wife, a couple who had never been able to have children of their own. While gathering firewood by the river, Simpang found a massive, heavy egg abandoned in the tall grass. He brought it home, placing it by the warmth of the family hearth out of curiosity. When the shell finally gave way, a tiny golden-green dragon stepped out into the light, looking up at Simpang with bright, intelligent eyes. They named him Sang Ular Naga, and they raised him inside their small home, treating the creature with the same care and devotion they would have shown a son of their own. As the dragon grew, he guarded their porch from predators and followed Simpang to the fields, responding to the couple's affection with a fierce, quiet loyalty. But Sang Ular Naga eventually grew too massive for the village. His golden scales brushed the ceiling, and his tail could no longer fit within the small wooden walls of their home. Simpang and his wife eventually had to lead the dragon to a large cave at the foot of the mountain, providing him with the space his growing body required. Despite the distance, Simpang hiked to the cave every day. He brought food and sat for hours, sharing stories with the dragon just as he had when the creature was small enough to sit by the fire. Even as a giant of the mountain, the dragon remained gentle with the man who had raised him, maintaining a bond that the relocation could not weaken. Then, a severe drought hit the village. The riverbeds turned to dust, the rice crops shriveled, and the people began to fear they would not survive the season. Simpang visited the cave and confessed his fears to Sang Ular Naga, explaining that the village was running out of time and water. The dragon listened to his father's grief and felt a desperate need to help the family that had saved him from an abandoned egg. That night, Sang Ular Naga tore into the earth with his massive claws and body, violently carving a path through the bedrock to reach the deep, hidden springs beneath the mountain. He thrashed through the soil until a massive torrent of water burst forth, filling the deep trench he had spent the night excavating. Drained of his strength and covered in wounds from the jagged rock, the dragon allowed the rising water to pull him under, sinking into the depths of the new lake so that his family might live. The villagers woke to find the dry land replaced by a massive, shimmering body of water that had appeared overnight, saving their crops and their lives. Simpang and his wife stood at the water's edge in bitter silence. The lake was their survival, but it was also where they said goodbye to their son. In the modern bedroom, Radin is moved to tears by the dragon's fate, feeling the weight of the sacrifice that created his home. Inak Dia wipes his tears, explaining that every drop of water in the valley is there because Sang Ular Naga chose to trade his life for the village's future. She teaches him that the lake is a living memory of that gratitude, a gift that has sustained their people for generations. Years later, Radin grows up to become a teacher, taking his place in the village school to ensure his people's history is not forgotten. He leads his students to the shores of Lake Ranau, pointing out the clear water and the mountain peak where the story began. He tells them about the annual ceremonies where the village still honors the dragon, ensuring that the source of their water is always respected. He asks them to remember that the peace they feel by the water was bought with a deep, selfless love. Even now, every successful harvest in the valley serves as a silent continuation of the dragon's final act of thanks to the family that raised him.